city has some of the most expensive real estate in the country. Rentals are also some of the highest among any metro cities. But these expensive apartments and fancy high-rises have been running dry over the last several days. It's not in just some areas. Large parts of Mumbai are facing an acute water shortage. The BMC, the country's richest corporation, announced a 15% water cut for 30 days on the 31st of March. But the actual impact is clearly much more. As temperatures soar, more and more tankers are in demand and the prices of those are soaring as well. So what really happened? Is this just a problem of water reservoirs running dry? No. It's actually the callousness of contractors and a private developer that has left the city parched, suffering for several days. So what really happened? An underwater tunnel carrying water to the Bhandup treatment plant was punctured in March. This is near Thane because of illegal digging of a borewell by a private developer. And FIR was finally registered against this company called Square Feet Real Estate for a breach after an RTI activist dug up the details. This developer has now been fined for 75 crores for damaging this water tunnel. Now the problem is that this tunnel, which goes to the Bhandup plant, is responsible for nearly 65% of water supply to Mumbai and the suburbs. And instead of this tunnel, now a British-era pipeline is being used, which is much narrower. Because of that, less water is being supplied, and especially in high rises, in areas which are at higher levels, the water is even lesser. It's pointing out to massive mismanagement in what is supposed to be the financial capital of this country. I'm first going across to my colleague Shweta, who's telling us the actual cause of this water crisis.
Well, it's double whammy for the people of Mumbai. First hand, we see that it's summer, temperature soaring weather, and here it's also a water supply hit in the city of Mumbai. Now let's exactly tell you what has happened in the city of Mumbai. Few days back in Thane, during construction in Wagle estate, the workers of a private firm had hit on the pipeline, due to which there was a hit on the water supply. And few days ago in Mumbai, the major pipeline of Powai had the similar fate, where the pipeline has met the same fate, and as per the civic body, they said that the water supply is cut for 15%. But the reality is the water supply has been cut for 50%, and the people of Mumbai are suffering through it since days now. There are several times where they don't have water, and the crisis continues to make the people of Mumbai suffer. What we also understand is that repeatedly the civic body BMC has claimed that they are repairing the pipeline and the work on the front foot is going on, but the daily suffering of the people of Mumbai is never ending. As per the latest report, we also understand that the water tankers have become more expensive. As it is summertime, the demand of water tankers are more around the city. But in the main city itself, we see that the people are suffering due to the acute water hit what has taken place here in BMC as well as in Thane area of Mumbai and Thane.
Now, what has this done to residents? Shushti is joining me now. She's filed this report from Mumbai's Bandra suburb.
बीएमसी ने तो पहली बात तो हमको बताया नहीं कि ये प्रॉब्लम होने वाला है। दूसरी बात, जब हम लोग घर में रहते हैं तो हमको पता नहीं चलता है। 15% तो उन्होंने बोला था, लेकिन अभी तक किसी को कुछ पानी नहीं मिल रहा है। दिक्कतें इतनी बढ़ गई है कि वी हैव नथिंग टू रिजॉल्व इट। एटलीस्ट द बीएमसी टू सेंड अ टैंकर और समथिंग, सो वी कैन एटलीस्ट make our society or nearby. We have a resident, Chawl residents and everything. Even they are facing their problem. The BMC should have taken the initiative of at least explaining them, okay, what is exactly going to happen. They told 31st March, but now it is almost more than 31st March.
तो प्रॉब्लम तो 1-1.5 महीना तक रहने वाला, ये बताया लेटर में।
कैसे आप डील कर रहे हैं इस प्रॉब्लम से?
अभी क्या, जो पानी मिलता है उसमें गुजारा कर रहे हैं हम लोग, जितना मिलेगा उतने में करना।
कुछ आ रहा है?
टैंकर वगैरह कुछ नहीं आ रहा है, कुछ अरेंज नहीं किया उन्होंने टैंकर वगैरह। वही तो प्रॉब्लम है। अगर टैंकर अरेंज कर लेते तो पानी का प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो सकता था, लेकिन टैंकर अरेंज नहीं किया लोग ने, ये प्रॉब्लम है। अभी कितने दिन तक चलने वाला है वो भी हमको पता नहीं है।
सबसे पहली बात तो सुन लीजिए कि हमारी सोसाइटी में पहले से ही कट ऑफ है और अभी ये 15% किया। अगर वॉशिंग मशीन चलाते तो 51 मिनट्स वॉशिंग मशीन दिखाता है, 30 मिनट्स के अंदर पानी चला जाता है, आधा कपड़ा वहीं पे रह जाता है, पीने के लिए पानी नहीं भर सकता है, नहाने के लिए नहीं भर सकता है, कुछ भी यूज़ करने के लिए पानी पूरा भरता ही नहीं। हम लोग 15% किया है ना, उसमें तो एकदम ये हो जाता है, शाम तक पानी खाना बनाने के लिए भी नहीं रहता।
All right, to speak more on this, I'm joined now by Asif Bhamla, spokesperson of the BJP, Sanjay Jha, author and Mumbaikar, with me on the show. Richa Pinto, special correspondent, Times of India, joining us today, as is Advocate Tulip Brian Miranda. She's a Mumbai Municipal Councillor. Professor Amita Bhide, Chair Professor National Jal Jeevan Mission, School of Habitat Studies at TIS, is also with us on the show. Welcome to all of you and thank you so much for speaking with us. We want to try and understand why this is happening, and is this really pointing to massive mismanagement? Richa, let me begin with you, since you've been covering this very, very closely and diligently. What is the issue over here? What is the cause of it? And has the BMC actually stuck by its claim that only 15% of water supply will be cut?
Tamanna, I think we need to start here with trying to understand, while you've explained what the problem is, but it's a multifold problem. For instance, what started in March were 4 different ruptures. One was of the water pipeline, which was three ruptures of the water pipeline, with 2 by a Thane Municipal Corporation contractor, 1 by the MSRDC, and 1 was the tunnel puncture. Now, these both carry water to the city. Now, while the water pipeline was repaired, in case of the tunnel rupture, this tunnel is 80 meters below ground, which means that, it cannot be repaired overnight. What they've done is they've dewatered this tunnel completely. And if you pointed out, they've started making use of the old Tansa pipeline. Now, the old Tansa pipeline is only 2.8 meters in diameter, while this tunnel was 4 meters in diameter. So, which firstly points out that less water is being carried from your reservoirs. Now, the second problem is the 15% water cut has been announced at the Bhandup filtration plant, which means that till the time the water travels from the Bhandup filtration plant to your 28 reservoirs, the pressure is of course dropping, and then from the reservoirs to the taps probably is dropping even further. That's why you're having residents in various areas complain that the water pressure is so low. You're talking of penalty to the contractor. We are having FIRs that are being filed, but the action needs to bring in so harsh that you don't have such incidents, because we need to understand here that the entire city's water supply has been taken to ransom. 15% water cut, when you are talking about it, several areas are suffering, and tankers are making merry, of course.
The tankers are not even available. There's a massive shortage of tankers. Rates have gone from an average of 1,500 to 2,000 to nearly 6,000 rupees. And even the tankers can't keep up. Now, my question is, are we not understanding what we are doing in the city? We are constantly giving permissions for more and more infrastructure, build more buildings. Where is the water? Where is the water to actually support this? Ms. Miranda, I want to come to you on this. Where is the failure? Is it at the door of the BMC, in some cases the TMC? First of all, Mumbai has a problem where there are just so many authorities and each one is doing their own thing.
Definitely, I would blame the entire failure on the part of the municipal corporation. They have failed to connect, they have failed to supply water to its consumers. They have failed to provide the basic amenities required by this capital city. I'm very sorry to say this, that time and again, when it was my ward, ward number 90, Kalina and Vakola, time and again I was told that my ward is at the flag end. I have been suffering for the past 3 years. My people have been complaining about paucity of water, contamination, and once the pressure is low, the people have suffered contamination. Time and again we have called up the hydraulic engineer, the deputy hydraulic engineers have been appointed to areas, but the problem has not been solved. And now to top it off, it's like a cherry on the cake, where people in the summer season are suffering with not even 15 minutes of water. If you have a 15% cut, at least give us half an hour of proper pressure water. Our people are suffering, and from 4 o'clock in the morning we are calling up the municipal authority, the hydraulics, but they very conveniently switch off their phones. Their phones will be available only after 11 o'clock in the morning, when the supply hour is closed. My area gets a supply hour from 4 o'clock in the morning to 7. Whom am I going to report to? How am I going to solve the problems of the people? People don't understand the meticulousness of the working of the water supply department and the water works department. They're two different departments altogether. But the general common man does not understand this. They hold you responsible. There is no water. Madam, do something. There is no water. Where do we go?
So
the municipal
Ms. Miranda,
corporation has been run by administrators.
Are you telling me as a municipal councillor,
not doing anything?
Are you telling me as a municipal councillor you have no power to do anything? That you cannot raise this issue?
Yes, today I have no. Yes, today I cannot raise this issue because the democracy is at the hands of I don't know whom today. Today the administrators are running the municipal corporation. Whom do we complain to? Do we have a voice in the house to make this issue an issue which can be solved? Is there any remedy that is there to the people other than just putting it up in the papers that there is a 15% cut, which is a total lie? If there was a 15% cut, at least 80 or 75% water supply would have been there in areas. Today our taps are running dry for 10 days and 15 days. My area is a minority area, total minority area. We Catholics have just finished off with our Rosa period or the Lenten season, where we have been fasting. My Muslim brethren are still going through the Rosa phase, where they do not have water for their basic necessities. Where do we go to? Whose doors do we knock? The hydraulic engineer very conveniently says that we are trying to solve the problem. Madam, you are at the flag end. Just because I am at the flag end, you mean to say you're going to conveniently give me this answer for years together?
I don't know this where this angle has come in. The fact is that water is a basic necessity for everyone. For everyone, no matter who they are, where they are, if they live in, the slums of Mumbai or the high rises of Mumbai.
Exactly.
Everyone needs water. The fact is that those in the high rises will pay through their nose for tankers to make sure that they are not put through any problems. So what will happen is, once again, those with more money will have access to a scarce resource. I want to bring in Asif Bhamla. Why is this not an issue, Mr. Bhamla? This is just going on and on. Some developer is trying to dig a board well, goes 70 meters down, punctures this tunnel. Nobody knows. An RTI activist has to discover this. And this company gets fined only 75 crores. I'm saying only 75 crores. While crores of people are suffering.
Certainly, this is a very critical issue. I am a Mumbaiker. I reside in Bandra, and if you see the most affected sites and features of this water constraints are happening most over in Andheri, if you see in Khar, Danda, and of course Kalina, and of course Kurla, and all these areas also in BKC which are affected. So I certainly justify this, and I understand in this sweating heat of summer, the Mumbaikars are left with this problem, and there are two faces of the same problem. One is with the Mumbai issue. Of course, with Mumbai issue, we understand, and it's very clear now that there was one utility pipeline that was damaged by a private builder. That builder has no goddamn right to do this, and there is a very strong and a stringent measure. There's a strong FIR that has been filed. He's going to be arrested, because that's not the way a construction is allowed to. Now, when it comes to construction, let me also submit, in the previous governments, the leverages that were given to the builders in terms of earning goodies and in earning whatever revenues they wanted to, in ensuring that their work goes in progress in the right manner, they have given n number of FSIs to the builders Till today, we are fighting this issue of not only water scarcity. Water scarcity now is an issue. Air pollution has been a bigger issue of the city
air pollution.
of Mumbai
1 minute.
from the past
Let's
few
raise our
days.
focus. 1 minute, Mr. Bamla. Let's raise our focus. This developer has punctured this in November.
I'm coming up to this.
This guy has done it in November. You're saying we're taking stringent actions. The RTI activist had to expose it. What was the government in the state doing?
No, I understand. No, I understand. In fact, there has been big action against the water tanker mafias that has been there. Today, I just got the news that they've also been put behind bars. That is one aspect. As far as Navi Mumbai is concerned, you know that for infrastructural project, you have to sometimes undergo a little pain. We've seen for the Mumbai Metro, the entire Mumbai city had to go through so much of stress of the infrastructure. So similarly now, there is maintenance work happening from Bokad water treatment plant and the Nairobi dam. So the shifting work, if I may read out, from the Morbi pipeline is happening, and because of which there is a shutdown and there is low water pressure even in a place like Navi Mumbai. But again, to find out long-term solution and for a proper infrastructure, वो कहते हैं ना बड़े फायदे के लिए छोटा नुकसान करना पड़ता है. But again, for that also I sympathize as a spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party.
1 minute. ये आप हिंदी में बोल रहे तो मैं भी बोलूंगी. ये थोड़ा पल्ला झाड़ना हो गया है. इसको बोलते हैं पल्ला झाड़ना. बड़े फायदे के लिए छोटा नुकसान. I mean, who is responsible for what is happening in this city? Who is responsible for what is happening in this city? I am sure the city is not run by a bunch of people who can't figure it out.
The municipal corporation needs to take responsibility for its acts. By just merely finding the contractor will not serve the
reimburse people who are paying. Housing societies who are paying 6,000 rupees for a tanker. 1 minute, I'm going to get Sanjay Jha. I'm going to get previous government की तो बात ही मत कीजिए. Bhamla ji, let's talk about the month of March. Okay, then we'll come to previous government. Sanjay Jha, as a Mumbaikar,
पूरे शहर में आपने गड्ढे का खोद के रखे, उसके लिए कौन जिम्मेदार है? Who's going to answer for that?
No. We'll do a separate episode on potholes. We'll do a separate one on pollution. Right now we have no water. It's ridiculous. Sanjay Jha, you know, I started the show. 1 minute, Mr. Bhamla, you've spoken, let others speak as well. I request you. Only our throats will get drier if we scream, and we don't know if we're going to get water to parch our thirst. You know, it's a serious issue. All of us sitting on this screen right now can afford to buy private water and quench our thirst and manage our necessities. What about everyone else? Sanjay Jha started talking about the ridiculously high real estate rates in this city because I wanted to draw a comparison and a contrast. Is it going to be worth living in this city, paying these kind of rates? If the basics cannot be done, forget about what real estate costs. Look at the contribution to taxes for the state, for the national GDP. The fact is the people of the city are being taken for a ride.
Tamanna, absolutely. And, you know, we are the commercial capital and the entertainment capital of India. I mean, Mumbai still remains the hottest destination for a global investor. And this is really a mockery of the way we are running this city, this great city, in my opinion. What an amazing history it has. I don't want to get into a political slugfest with Mr. Bhamla because the truth is all political parties have failed in this city. And you know, when I heard the comments of the other panelists who are talking about their areas getting barely any water, I can tell you, and I need to be very honest on your program. I don't want to ever, try and, be clever by half. In the area that I live in, Mumbai, I consider myself extremely privileged that we haven't had a water problem. And this is the tragedy of Mumbai, that there are certain pockets that will be, probably water surplus or will have no disruptions. And therefore, they will not become part of the public imagination. While those who are at the receiving end, and that's where the bulk of India's population lives, Mumbai's population lives, they suffer in ignominy and in not even getting a basic essential like water. And politicians will come on your show and blame previous governments. I'll give you one example, Tamanna, and at some point, I don't want to embarrass you by flattering you on your show, but I'm glad you're doing this program, because how often do any anchors really discuss things like water and transport and basic civic amenities? But let me make one point here. I have seen how real estate has kind of just become an ugly nightmare in the city. You go to Lower Parel, it's unrecognizable. Obviously the rates are high. Politicians find it attractive. They believe they'll get taxes and revenues. But the simple question, when a vertical 25-floor apartment comes up, each flat probably, each floor having 8 flats, if you assume one flat has minimum 4 people, you're talking about roughly 400 people living in each of those vertical rises. I mean, who is going to supply them with water, parking space, whatever? So your answer, frankly, that I can provide you, and in all honesty, is this city is crumbling. And I can tell you that all of us living here, if somebody were to see us from a satellite image, we are nothing better than crawling ants or rats in this metropolis.
Sanjay, you're saying that you're not getting a water cut. You probably are and don't even know it.
Probably,
yeah. Because you probably live in a very fancy society. I don't know. But it's all arranged. The tanker is there before you can feel the pinch. So that's not the case for everyone. Everyone else is suffering. Everyone else is suffering. I want to come to Richa. Because, you've heard some of the comments coming in. And we're going into details of past governments, etc. But this particular case, and you have reported on this, why are these pipelines and tunnels constantly damaged? Is this the metro work, the coastal road work, then some private developer also doing their own, shebang? And who oversees all of this?
So we all know that there's a 400-kilometer network of a pipeline carrying water to the city. Now, in case of what has happened in March, we've seen that the water pipeline was damaged by the Thane Municipal Corporation contractor, who was undertaking excavation work for a pit for some infrastructure activity. And once the tunnel was illegally punctured by this developer who was trying to dig a bore well. So this isn't your metro work or anything, but I think the problem here is that there has not been enough of supervision while this digging has taken place. You have something like a tunnel or a water pipeline carrying water to a city like Bombay. You can't just leave it unsupervised. And this digging cannot happen overnight, right? It surely has taken a while if the developer has got 80 meters below the ground. So I think somewhere there has been lack of supervision that has led to such kind of an incident going unnoticed. A city suffering 15% water cut for an entire month, how justified is that? And for what? For the negligence of some developer, for the negligence of some municipal corporation's contractor. So the BMC, of course, has done its due diligence. I think after the incident, they have written to the Thane Municipal Corporation saying that please blacklist the contractor. They have put up a proposal. Let me tell you, they have put up a proposal to fine the developer. Oh. We really don't know yet whether the developer has paid. No, the developer has paid this at 75 crores. Now the 75 crores is also 13 for. Tulip, right? It's a proposal. So 13.8 crores is your repair charges, and the remaining is for the water loss. What kind of water loss are we seeing? How justified is it? I mean, water is such a precious commodity, and we are seeing, such huge water loss that they had to de-water the tunnel. There is a shaft being put from the Bhandu filtration plant. You're having people walk in and go and try to repair this puncture. And Tamanna, here, as I said earlier also, it is important for us to remember that the 15% water cut announced, which I have also confirmed it with the officials, is at your Bhandu filtration plant. So till the time, like Julie pointed that out, she's saying that, they're not even getting half an hour water. So till the time it's reaching places like Kalina and all, what is it? We are looking at 80% water cut. I mean, for what? For the negligence of some contractors.
No,
I
and
mean,
have they been arrested?
No,
I'm sorry, have they been arrested? There is just a proposal to find them.
No,
who is protecting them? Let's ask the uncomfortable question. Who is protecting them? Who is protecting them?
Exactly.
There has been no arrest in this
Another
case.
thing, Tamanna, I would like to bring to your notice is we have spent a lot of monies over the beautification of Mumbai, but the same government today cannot provide this basic necessity of water to the people of the city. Had it been, the same money would have been utilized to replace these old pipelines, replace the valves, replace the shafts. I think so we would have more decent lives compared to what we are living today. In a city like Mumbai, where we are having the G20 summit, people are complaining of paucity of water. It's a shame.
No, Tulip, I disagree, because here it is the replaced water pipeline. It's the tunnel which they had replaced, the old Tansa pipeline which they had replaced in the form of a tunnel in 2018, which has been damaged. So, as I said, they have gone back to the old Tansa pipeline.
Because, yes, Richa explained that well. Because the new pipeline got damaged by this developer, they've gone to the old pipeline, which is narrower and not enough. But it's a bigger question. It's a bigger question.
But
Professor Amita Bide, you've been waiting patiently. 1 minute. Let's just listen to Professor Amita Bide.
Today, the bigger question is this.
Yeah, I'll come to you, ma'am. What needs to be done? Of course, this particular developer, contractor needs to be fined, brought to book. We need to figure out that are we so inefficient in building anything in this city, that we can't figure out how to do it and keep damaging water pipelines. It really seems silly and inexcusable apathy. But even having said that, on a good day, the fact is that a lot of this city is still dependent on water tankers and private water. It's not as if the local body is sufficing the needs of water. What can be done there?
I will just give 3 points here, which I think are critical. Okay, the first thing is that there have been lots of blind spots in the overall water policy for the city as a whole. Okay, and these are systemic blind spots. Number one, we are never aware of groundwater and aquifers in the city. There is no aquifer mapping of Mumbai at all. The second issue, which is also a blind spot, is that there is no conversation. So the overall plan of water is a follow-up of a development plan. But in a city where development plans have become things to be kept aside, and real estate development and redevelopment is seen as a solution to all kinds of problems. There are people who say that real estate is the currency in which one can, in the future, perhaps even pay officials. We pay them through FSI and TDR and things like that. And we look at real estate as a solution. These development plans do not converse with the water supply department at all. So there is no conversation, there is no mapping and relationship between building permissions which are given, the layout plans which are prepared, and therefore, in some ways, the system is culpable. These kind of accidents and these kind of damages are bound to happen in a system where everything is left only to the private sector. I don't think it's a matter of just monitoring. So I think we are just plain lucky that these accidents are not happening more frequently. So I think this is one big issue.
I don't think anyone living in the city right now is feeling lucky.
Yeah. No, but I do think we are living on the tip of an iceberg.
That, waters run dry. On a lighter note, Sanjay. On a lighter note. But it's a serious issue, and it's also pointing to culpability and connivance, frankly speaking, because there is blind permissions given to high rises. 25 floor, 30 floor, 50 floor, पानी कहाँ से आएगा?
Tamanna, I'm just being very honest on your program. I mean, in South
Why don't you
Mumbai,
ask them?
just a minute, Bamla ji, just a minute.
Why don't you
in
ask them?
In South Mumbai, where I live, I haven't heard too many people complaining. That's exactly my point. That you're going to have the privileged lord, the chief minister's house is in South Mumbai. India's biggest business barons live in South Mumbai. So South Mumbai will feel it's getting, the first among equals treatment, which is why it is not going to be becoming the headline. That's exactly the point. That end of day, this is why your program today is necessary. And look at the reality here, Tamanna. I think that to me is the real commentary in today's program. That probably if an RTI activist whose heart was not in the right place, if he wasn't a social crusader, if he didn't have empathy for those who are going to suffer for a basic necessity like water, there would be no such program. You would not know about inefficiency, incompetence, malfeasance, collusion, and plain apathy. I mean, these are factors on which politicians never get questioned. And I think that's a reality we need to confront, which is why the bottom line for any democratic society is what we are experiencing on your program today. People who understand the technicals of what the water supply problem is, like the professor who spoke earlier, and the other two distinguished ladies on the program. I don't want to, Mr. Bamla and I are politicians, we should be taken with a pinch of salt. But the truth is this, that this is a problem that requires active civil society participation. The media, obviously people like you can give it a big boost and eventually question the government. Because I can tell you, we are so susceptible today. Tamanna, you'll remember when there were fires happening repeatedly over a period of time. And yeah. I really still feel when I go to a high-rise apartment, our people, we become so complacent and lack a desk skill over a period of time. The culture of discipline is completely absent. And that's something where the common man one day will pay a big price for it.
You're talking about South Mumbai. Mr. Bhamla is from Bandra, which is no shabby suburb, very famous, very fancy. All the Khans live there. And you're talking about BKC. By the way, everyone's excited. The Apple store is going to open in BKC. There's no water, but Apple store is going to open in BKC. We just had a fashion gala. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but it's seeming ridiculous to me. How blind we are.
You see, Tamanna,
how blind we are to the reality of how we live in this city.
Tamanna,
and how everyone seems to be okay with it. Yes, Tamanna. Mr. Bhamla, and then I'll come to you, ma'am. Yes.
Tamanna, can I come in?
Yes, please.
You see, I've been hearing these issues, but let me tell you, these are technical issues, of course, for which we don't want to. वो कहते हैं पल्ला झाड़ना नहीं है हमें. इसके लिए कहीं न कहीं जो जिम्मेदारान हैं उन्हें अपनी सजा भुगतनी होगी और of course things will come on the right track. Of course, इसमें जैसे मैंने कहा कि there are two aspects. One is the issue that has been created by the builder. The second is the infrastructural setup as far as Navi Mumbai is concerned. But let me tell you, in years to come, I am an environmentalist at heart. I also propagate environment in a big way. But let me tell you, the biggest wars in the world that will be fought off is going to be of water. And I'll tell you why. Because water conservation efforts need to be, taken very seriously. We need to reduce the water consumption through measures. You see, like rainwater harvesting. Our governments are trying to ensure that the rainwater harvesting and responsible use of water, you see, because that's the very important thing. If you see the way we also,
why are we hiding behind rainwater harvesting? Okay, I will rainwater harvest. But some developer will come and break the pipeline. Where is the responsibility? Where are the arrests?
I'm not disconnecting from the fact.
Where is the bureaucrat that's being pulled up,
disconnecting
suspended?
From the fact.
Who's doing anything about it? You're again putting the onus on me, the citizen, saying please go harvest your rainwater.
The RTI activists brought out to light.
That has to be done.
Activists brought out to light this incident. I have been facing this incident time and again.
1 minute, Ms. Tulip is speaking. Ms. Tulip Miranda, 1 minute. Yes, Ms. Tulip Miranda.
You can't.
Tamanna, we were talking
You see
about
the
the contractor
shortcomings,
being identified by
you
an
see by these
RTI
officers
activist
and the
today.
bureaucrats
I have been going through this
has to be
when the
addressed.
metro line has continuously kept on damaging the main 24-inch pipeline on Hansbugra Road time and again, affecting the supply of not only my ward, 90, 91 and the BKC ward. Just because it has not come to light that this has happened. Apart from that, no one would even take the onus of going and repairing. Each one would pass on the buck from the waterworks department.
No, 1 minute.
to
Are
the
you
metro
saying,
line
are you
contractors
saying the
to repair
metro work
line?
is
And
damaging
who are
water
the sufferers?
pipelines
The
and there is
general
no
public.
onus being taken? 1 minute. Let me understand this correctly. Are you saying that metro
course,
work is
yes.
damaging water pipelines and no one's taking onus?
Indirectly, yes. Yes.
Yes, they were
Yes, I
damaging.
agree with this.
Wherever the metro
But
lines,
who-
wherever
what
the
was
metro
the
lines
reason
were
of the
going
delay of
on,
the metro
they were
works?
damaging the pipelines, but it was not brought to light. Today,
For 2.5 years, the metro-
such a huge pipeline, when it is damaged, an RTI activist goes and brings it to light. This is the apathy of the municipal corporation. I am not concerned with what TMC is doing. The problem is we do not have a blueprint of our pipelines. Otherwise, this incident would not have occurred. There should be security, as Richa correctly said, that these zones
The
where there are
administration
pipelines
has come here
undergoing,
for-
just like we
for
have a
another-
buffer zone
a
to be
year or
created
so.
for the
Are you
Mithi River,
saying,
there should be a
one minute,
buffer
one
for
minute,
these
are you
pipelines
saying
which
that
are the
when,
supply
1 minute,
holder.
1 minute ma'am, 1 minute Mr. Bhamna,
The
are you
NBA
saying that
system
when
has
this,
been in power
when
for past
fresh
25
infrastructure
years.
is being built in this city that everyone's very excited about, by 2024 you'll have coastal road, you'll have metro, all of these great inaugurations will happen, it's being done blind, no one knows what's underneath.
You've seen the
It's like
speed at
doing it
which
in a
they're doing it,
landmine.
right?
You may or may not hit a water pipeline.
Yes,
You're going
I'm
blind.
very
It's a
sorry to
landmine.
say-
Okay. Professor
Yes,
Bhede
I'm
wants to
very
come
sorry
in.
to say
Professor
this has
Bhede wants to
happened.
come in.
This
Let's
has
listen to
happened.
Professor Bhede. 1 minute. Let's listen to Professor
Precisely
Bhede.
the point that I was making earlier, Tamanna, that the blueprints, there are blueprints for our water pipelines, but is that conversation, is that blueprint being shared across departments to bring it down to where building permissions are given, where redevelopment permissions are given? It is the same corporation which is in charge of both, fortunately, in Mumbai. There are several other cities where even that doesn't exist and there is institutional fragmentation. But within the single municipal corporation, you have a situation where the buildings permission department doesn't talk to the water supply department, and especially in case of where redevelopment permissions are given. I do not agree that this is a technical problem. This is a systemic problem. And that is why I said we are really standing on a precipice. And it is this real estate development, we are in such a rush to give permissions to everything that happens in the name of redevelopment. Okay, doing single windows, reducing the time. We don't want it to go through all of these processes, and therefore that we see as a solution. So I think that is something which we really need to examine. Sit back, because I think culpability and finding the builder at fault is one thing. This definitely needs to be done. But what about the system which is creating this?
No, and when you have infrastructural work which is being done by the state, which is damaging pipelines, who's taking responsibility for that? Isn't that also where the contractor needs to be booked and questioned? Because this is just really becoming random.
It is
Yes,
a shame
Sanjay
that
Jha,
we
you want
have
to come
only
in.
proposed a fine. It is a shame that we have only proposed an FIR. Mumbai Municipal Corporation has proposed that to TMC. It's a bloody shame.
Who
They
is
have to
protecting
take
them?
an FIR
Who is
against that builder
protecting
who has
this
paralyzed
developer?
the
Are we
entire
asking
city
that
of Mumbai?
question? Who is protecting this developer? Yes, Sanjay Jha.
A short point, Tamanna. We have taken, water as a natural resource far too much for granted. I'm aware in Bangalore how they've had very severe problems for a long time.
Yes.
And it'll be tragedy if a city with so many people, 24 million people, become susceptible to a water scarcity. Because, end of day, I want to tell Asif, let's not please as politicians lecture people with any degree of self-righteousness on environment. India's ranking on environmental protection index was 180 out of 180 countries. We were the worst, Asif. We are the lowest in the world. And everyone knows the data. Out of the 50 most polluted, 35 are in our country. But who cares, right? Who cares? The simple point is this, that we know it, and the reason why we are having this program, Tamanna, and I need to be very upfront on your show. I always have been. I've always appreciated the candidates with which you do it, that politicians live from one election cycle to another. As the professor has rightly pointed out, can you imagine, we are vulnerable to water supply based on monsoons, right?
Yeah.
And even those reservoirs today, if they are surplus, there's a distribution problem. There's a technical problem. There's corruption. There is all kinds of things going on. And these are man-made destruction. The simple point is the way Mumbai is being milked for its real estate and property. I can tell you, each one of us, whether we live in South, North, Bandra, whichever part of Mumbai, we are all living in a black hellhole. Let me call it out.
Very rightly said, I think. We are still dependent on the reservoirs, the 7
Tamanna, I
lakes
would
for
like
our
to bring
water.
in one point here to Mr. Jha to what he said.
One by one.
We are
one by
going
one.
in for
I think
vertical
Richa started
expansion.
1 minute.
And
One
with
by one.
vertical
Ma'am, please, one by
expansion-
one. Let Richa, because she started a point, let her finish that so we can all hear each other. Yes.
I was just telling Tamanna, I think I agree with what Sanjay said, and it's very, very important to understand this, that we are still, Bombay as a city, the financial capital, we are dependent on our 7 lakes. That means if monsoons fails us, which this time, we all know what is the forecast like. If monsoon fails us, we are in deep trouble. I mean, whatever said and done, then, of course, the BMC has announced its grand desalination plans and all that. It's well said. But why aren't we implementing basic rules? When a building is given permission, when a high-rise is giving permission, they are told they are supposed to reuse water. They are told you're supposed to do rainwater harvesting. How many societies are doing it? How many of the authorities are going and inspecting whether this is being done? So that means if monsoon fails us, we all are in trouble.
And the prediction is that we might see the impact of El Nino, especially in the second part of this monsoon region and in the western part of India. So this might get worse. Yes, Asif Bamla, yes.
Tamanna, no, certainly, Tamanna, I agree with what Richa mentioned previously, is that how much do the societies and citizens in the city go by the rules and regulation? Every society, it's mandatory to have rainwater harvesting to be happening. Not only that, every society is supposed to reuse the water. They have to have their own water reservoir. They have to have their own segregation of garbage, but they don't. But the unfortunate part is that there has been a laxity. Okay, I understand now the administration from the past 1 year has taken over. From the past 25-30 years, the BMC has been ruled by the Sena. Now, and I don't want to sound it like a politician, okay? Let me tell you, I also agree. I'm a Mumbaiker. I pay taxes. We're all sitting in a commercial capital. Mumbai, Bandra has been the queen of the suburbs in which I reside too. But having said that, what I am trying to tell you, that in spite of paying the taxes, in spite of the exchequer that has been contributed, let me tell you, now in days to come, with this government in place, you're seeing the kind of fast track in the government work. Firstly, the metro work, which was in a deadline from past 2.5 years, for which there were so many technical issues with regard to transport, air pollution, is now on a fast track, and we're observing that.
But
the
why are
coastal
they doing
road
it
is on a
properly?
fast track.
But
So
why
all
are they
this is
making
going
a
to come
mess
in
of
place.
it?
But
Why are they bursting the pipelines while doing it?
Tamanna, let me tell you this. No, Tamanna, let me tell you, this problem is a problem. But in the next 2 days, we shall again we shall again meet up. This also will be sorted.
We all pay equal amount of water charge. I don't think so. The water charge
for
is
30 days.
the suburb and
We
the
still
city
have
is
16 days left to go for these water cuts. There are still 16 days left to go for these water cuts.
Tamanna, there is no guarantee here that this work is going to be completed. They are saying they needed 30 days, but the nature of the job is so complex.
It could be even more. It could be even more. Okay, I need to start wrapping this as last word from Miss Tulip. Yes. Yes, Miss Miranda.
I believe that right now what Richard just said Even this is the answer that we have got from the hydraulic department. We have said 30 days, but we do not know whether the 30 days are going to be sufficient to rectify this problem. I am looking at a bigger picture and a broader picture in the month of May, when we are going to get even more drier. The puncture in this pipeline has not only resulted in paucity and shortage of water that has been supplied, but also the amount of water that has got wasted from the reservoir coming directly to this pumping stations. Let us look at even that aspect. So is that water going to suffice for the month of May and half of June till we await the monsoon? Look at the apathy of the people, and I think so the municipal corporation and the Thane Municipal Corporation both need to be held responsible, and I feel the state's vigilance upon these two institutions who have paralyzed the city of Mumbai have to be held accountable.
Okay, can I say something? Can I say something, please? And you know, as we wrap this conversation, we now have a situation where there has been a huge technical issue relating to water shortage. The BMC says they need 30 days. It's complicated, could take longer. This is the financial capital of this country. Corporate India lives here. The might of this country lives here. Can we not come together and find a solution? Or is this going to be buried in the back pages of newspapers and on small news wraps on channels? Are we going to do something about this or not? Is a question that we really need to ask. At least we are asking it. I want to thank all of you for joining us in this conversation.